Right, welcome back to Al Jazeera. We are looking at a live shot from Brisbane, Australia. Peter Greste's brothers, Al Jazeera journalist brothers, Mike and Andrew, are giving a press conference. Let's listen to what they're saying. It's been nearly a year since Peter Greste and two of his colleagues were imprisoned in Egypt. Let's listen in.
Good?
Yep.
Yeah, welcome everyone, and hope that you all had a very Merry Christmas, and we have some prosperous and good news in the new year. But obviously today marks 12 months exactly that our brother Peter was first arrested in Cairo, basically for doing his job. So yeah, again, thanks very much for all your support throughout the year, and we might just go straight to a statement that that's come from Cairo from Mum and Dad, who are over there visiting Peter at the moment.
So this is from our parents. The past 12 months have been a roller coaster ride like no other. Today marks 12 months since Peter was arrested by Egyptian authorities simply for being a journalist. We've experienced a great deal of terrible lows and gratefully also a few highs. When we were first advised of Peter's arrest at this time last year, we were spending time on our hobby farm in the Lockyer Valley, oblivious to the turmoil that lay ahead. Little did we realise we would be spending the next 12 months campaigning for Peter's release. Perhaps naively, we expected Peter to be released after a few days and removed from the country. After all, Peter had committed no offence. He was in Egypt for only 3 weeks prior to having been arrested and was simply doing the best he could to report on the events within Cairo as he witnessed them. None of the reports he had produced could possibly be perceived as controversial. Peter would never report false or misleading news, nor would he align himself with a terrorist organisation. During the course of the trial, no incriminating evidence was provided by the prosecution to substantiate the charges laid against Peter and his colleagues. When the 7-year sentence was announced, we were in complete shock and disbelief. Since that time, we have continued to protest Peter's innocence. The injustice of the conviction was widely condemned by the international community and world leaders. Throughout the year, we have received a tremendous amount of global support from all spectrums of the community, including the United Nations, the media, and especially the public in general. This has demonstrated the importance of freedom of the press and has also reinforced the fact that Peter is completely innocent. We cannot show enough appreciation to all the support we have received. It has provided us with enormous strength and motivation. The array of support has been truly humbling, and much of it has been undertaken by people of their own initiative. We are just a small cog in a massive fight for justice. We will not give up seeking his freedom until he is released. The 1st of January marks the next milestone in the judicial process, and we see this as the next available opportunity for the Egyptian authorities to correct the injustice that has occurred. It is important that we continue to maintain the spotlight on the judicial process and ensure that it continues to be scrutinised. Justice delayed is justice denied.
So yeah, happy to take questions. So
How is Peter's spirits?
they're okay. He's a remarkably tough guy, but again, it's been a long 12 months, and the conditions haven't been all that easy to endure, and he's as good as he can be, I guess, given that he's been there for 12 months and locked up on some pretty flimsy evidence.
Apart from the obvious injustice, what's been the hardest part for him?
Oh, I think it's probably coming to terms with what's actually happened and the injustice, I think, knowing that he's done nothing wrong. I mean, he was there for 3 weeks, and I guess it's probably, well, it's sunk in now, but I think it's probably taken us all not by surprise, but it's taken a long time for us to, really understand that what's occurred, and I mean it's completely foreign to us to be held and jailed and go through a court process that just didn't produce any credible evidence at all. But it's still, we still find ourselves where we are, facing 7 years in an Egyptian prison for merely being there as a credible journalist doing his job. So that's probably been the hardest thing for him to come to terms with. And I think Peter probably doesn't spend too much time now dwelling on that, because it's happened, and really his main focus is just to get out of this an unbroken man, to make sure that this whole process doesn't break him, I think, because he doesn't want the system to beat him.
There's two little glimmers of hope, the hearing on the 1st of January and then talk of the presidential pardon. Which do you put most hope in?
Oh, we're always hopeful. I mean, we've never given up fighting for justice, because we obviously believe, as do the majority of the world, that believe that he's done nothing wrong. So I guess the next milestone for us really is the 1st of January. I mean, that's the next milestone in the court process. Obviously, we've heard lots of indications, and we've had lots of statements from the Egyptian authorities going back as far as the couple of days after Peter was sentenced, indicating that they wished that this whole that Peter didn't get jailed, that the whole thing didn't occur. Then just recently we heard a statement from President Sisi on French 24 television saying they were considering a pardon. So it's I guess it's been under consideration for some time.
The President has obviously said that, or clearly said a few days after he was convicted, that he wouldn't be pardoning Peter or stepping in until the legal process has been finalised. So going on that statement, I suppose we have to hang our hopes on the legal process. But however he gets released is fine by us.
This was Peter's first Christmas in prison. Can you reflect on that, or how your parents and he celebrated, marked the day?
Look, Mum and Dad went and visited him on Christmas Day. I think it was a fairly sombre occasion. Peter's getting fairly anxious, I think, in the lead up to the first. So one thing they sort of mentioned was he's trying to distract himself by doing his next assignment in the diploma, the course that he's doing. So look, it's been a trying Christmas and certainly a lonely one. But having said that, there are plenty of families who've got who were separated at the time. So we're certainly not the only one sort of having a sort of a sombre Christmas, I guess.
What do you consider your chances with this appeal?
We have to be hopeful. We didn't receive a just outcome in the initial first court trial, but it's an avenue of getting Peter released, and we have to be hopeful that we'll see some justice this time.
We've also, he's filed a very compelling, very strong appeal, so we've got some good legal representation up here in Australia and also in Egypt, and so on the grounds that he's filed a very strong, compelling appeal, we're confident.
Do you know how long the time frame? If there is ground for an appeal and that's granted, what sort of time frame would you be looking at before he gets to?
It's very difficult for us to put a time frame on it, but depending on the outcome of what happens on the 1st and perhaps what happens throughout January. But yeah, again, there's different scenarios, and I'm fearful to say that it could be lengthy. But that's one possible scenario. It could be very lengthy, which is again why we're hopeful that we get a good outcome on the 1st, because again we keep coming back to the point that he's done nothing wrong. So justice denied is justice delayed is justice denied, and it's 12 months of someone's life.
Sorry, is this the last chance saloon with the appeal? It's a one-off process?
No. Again, depending on the outcome.
There's three potential outcomes from the appeal. There's the dropping of all charges, then there's a retrial process, and then lastly there's basically no case to answer and his sentence stands. And then I guess there's sort of I think there's a potential for them to sort of reduce the sentence and other sort of scenarios, but they're the sort of the most likely ones.
How crucial is the background political scene to this, the thawing of relations between Egypt and Qatar?
I think it's a pivotal. It was a pivotal moment in the whole process. The cooling of relations, also rather warming of relations between Qatar and Egypt, I think is an important step for us, and the fact that the Mubasher Misra channel of Al Jazeera having been shut down or going to be shut down in Egypt is also a significant milestone in our case, and I'd like to think that it's removed the political aspect of the reason why Peter was arrested, which is another reason why we'd like to be hopeful that we might have a just outcome on the first.
Because of that, does he feel like he's sometimes wasting his time building a legal case when it so heavily hinges on stuff outside of the actual strength or weakness of the case?
No, I think it's about pursuing all avenues, and I think that's really been our strategy as well. We can't afford to. We don't know what the key will be to get him out, so we can't afford to not pursue the legal avenue. We can't afford not to take our foot off the pedal on the diplomacy, and also we can't afford to let the attention dwindle on the case. So I think all those things have been very important, and I mean, we'll never know what will have been the trigger, but yeah, we just can't afford to not let any option go.
Do you remain happy with the efforts of the Australian government to help get your brother out?
Yeah, look, I think the Australian government has been active in lobbying for Peter's release. I mean, I know that the Foreign Minister, Julie Bishop, has been particularly personally involved right from the start, and they've felt very strongly about the injustice that's occurred. And I think it's a difficult situation, very difficult. Australia, the relationship between Australia and Egypt, obviously, as you stated, is not going to go anywhere until Peter's back home. So we're confident that they've done a good job.
What do you know of what's going to actually happen on the first? How will those proceedings go? Will Peter be there? Will he get a chance to talk himself?
No. It's a closed court hearing. Peter won't be at the court. It'll just be basically the lawyers and the judges. So from our understanding is that there's even no media will be allowed inside the court. And currently we're trying to ascertain whether the Australian diplomats can get access into the court, but we don't know whether that'll occur. I mean, our assumption is that more than likely not. It'll be a completely closed hearing. Peter won't be present at the court. He'll remain in his prison, and so on the first, it will really just be purely procedural argument as to whether the case will be allowed to proceed to a retrial or the other outcomes it might describe.
But Peter's put in a submission as part of that process, you were saying, is that right?
Definitely, yeah. His legal team have put in a completely, an appeal defence.
Does that hang on any one key area, one key fact?
Oh, look, there are a number. We've seen the submission, and it's covers a range of areas, and I think it wouldn't be wise for me to get into detail. That's Egyptian law, and we've seen translations of that document, but we're confident that it's covers everything that it needs to cover.
Peter's obviously written part of that, or is it handwritten? Or
No. It's completely prepared by the lawyers because it is a procedural argument. So the process is not challenging points of evidence. It's purely challenging the procedures that occurred in that first trial process. So it's very much a legal argument rather than challenging points of fact or points of evidence.
The Australian public has certainly rallied behind you and your family. Is there anything that anyone can do? Anyone watching at home? What can people do?
Look, we're just overwhelmed by the amount of support. I guess keep following the case with interest. We've seen some, fantastic acts of activism, I guess you could call it, where people have, felt strongly about the injustice and felt strongly about the Peter's case, that they've wanted to do something and they've wanted to help, and that's been all under their own initiative. And I think, that sort of thing is fantastic. It keeps us going. It's great for the case. It helps keep the case in the public's attention. And we're just grateful for all those sorts of things. I mean, I'm sure a lot of you have seen the mural that was posted in Sydney on the Media and Arts Entertainment Alliance building. We've seen some advertising space donated to us on buses. We've seen people, doing protest actions. I know there's a protest going on in London today in front of the Egyptian embassy. People have been writing letters to their various members of Parliament and the Egyptian embassy. So it's just been phenomenal. And obviously Peter gets some of those messages and finds out about some of those activities, but it's very difficult for him to comprehend how much support there is, I think, out there for him.
Your parents went over in early December for his birthday. Can you tell us about the contact that they've had with him in that time?
Well, they've had a couple of visits with him now. They've been cordial. They've never had more than a couple of hours with him. I think since they arrived in early December, they've had about 3 visits. Look, Peter's hanging in there. He understands that there's a lot of support for him, which has kept him, his spirits up. But we're sort of all looking very much to what the First has to offer.
What did you give him for Christmas?
I might have to make up for it. We're fighting for his freedom. That's what he's getting. No,
look, it's pretty difficult for us to get stuff in. They've presents and those sort of things can be a bit hit and miss. So you kind of don't want to take anything that's of too high a value or of too much significance that perhaps might not make it in.
I think the Egyptian authorities take too kindly to files getting sent into prison.
So we know what generally gets through, and it's not too much. Okay.
Thanks.
Thanks.